Hi everyone, it's me again, Tess. You're welcome to today's tutorial. Today we're going to learn how to make this beautiful Bayberry beaded bag. This bag is screaming luxury and it's so fine. So today we're going to be making it in color white. Guys, let's learn it together, okay? For this project, firstly, we would need some beads. We're going to use these beads today. They are called the Bayberry beads and they are in size 16. We would also be needing another type of beads. We're going to use this sugar bead right here, which is in size 10. We would also be needing our fish line. Today we're going to use 0.7 or you can say 0.70. Would also be needing our scissors to cut out any loose thread. And lastly, we'll be needing our pair of handles. These are all we'll be needing for this project. To start, you cut out some line that will be comfortable for you to work on. Then on the left hand side, you add your one bead, which is your bayberry bead, then one small bead, which is your sugar bead, and do that again, one big bead and one small bead. Then you draw down the rest except for the last sugar bead that you added and cross both ends of your line into that sugar bead and draw that all the way down, and this is what you have. You have made your first ring. Okay, to proceed on both sides of our line, this time we're going to add one bead each. On the left you add one big bead and on the right you add one big bead. Then you take one small bead and cross both ends of your line into that bead. Then you draw that all the way down. Make sure your work is super tight. And now you have your second ring. And this is what it's looking like. To proceed, let's do what we just did right now. On both sides of our line, we add one bead each. On the left, you add one big bead, and on the right, you add one big bead. Then you take one small bead and cross both ends of your line into that small bead. Then you pull that all the way down. So far, we have done our third ring. Let's not forget to tighten our work. So guys, let's repeat this pattern one last time. On both sides of our line, we'll add one big bead each. On our left hand side, we'll add one big bead, and on our right line, we'll add one big bead. And then we'll take one small bead and cross both ends of our line into that small bead, and then we'll have our fourth ring. So here on, we're going to keep up with this step, or with this pattern rather, and we're going to keep building until we get to our desired length. My desired length is 10 ring, but I'm going to stop at the 9th ring because the 10th ring would be different. So let's meet right there at the 9th ring. Let's go, guys. I'm right here at my 9th ring, almost at my desired length. Let's do a recount. And yes, it's complete. It's now time to make the 10th ring, which is my desired length. So this time around, we are going to add on the left hand side alone one big bead, one small bead, and then one big bead. Then we'll cross both ends of our line into the last big bead added, and this takes us over to the other side of our work. And now we have completed the first ring, or rather the first roll of our bag. This is what you should have. This is what you should be having on your end. To proceed, we want to start a new row now. So on our left hand side, we are going to start with one small bead, one big bead, and one small bead. Then you cross both ends of your line into the last small bead added. This is what you should have your first ring on your second row. To proceed, our right line goes into the next bead. String your right line into that next bead right there, and then on our left hand side we're going to be adding one big bead and one small bead, and then we'll cross both ends of our line into that small bead added. Once that is done, we'll draw that all the way down to form our second ring. Let's repeat this one more time. Our right hand side goes into the next bead, and on our left line we'll add one big bead and one small bead. Then we'll cross both ends of our line into that last small bead added. Now we've done our third ring. Now we're going to keep up with this step until we get all the way down, but we'll stop right there at the second to the last one because the last one will be different. So guys, let's keep up with this and meet all the way down. I'm here now at the second to the last one. Let's complete it together. Our right line goes into the next bead. String your line into that next bead over there, and on your left hand side we are going to be adding one big bead, one small bead, and then you cross both ends of your line into that last small bead added. Cross both ends of your line into that last small bead added there. This is what you're going to have so far. It is now time to create the last ring. So the right hand side would go into the next bead. This time around we would add on the right hand side instead one small bead first, and then one big bead, and then we'll cross both ends of our line into that big bead added, that last big bead added. Let's draw that all the way down so it takes us over to the other side of our work. And finally our second row is done. Now let's flip that over and proceed to the other row. So the left hand side will be adding one small bead, one big bead, and one small bead. Then we'll cross both ends of our line into that last small bead added. Draw that all the way down and you have your first ring on your third row. Once that is done, the right hand side of our line goes into the next bead, and on the left hand side of our line we're going to be adding one big bead and one small bead, and then we're going to cross both ends of our line into that small bead added, that last bead added there. We're going to cross our line into it. We're going to draw that all the way down to form our second ring, and we're going to repeat same process. Our right line goes into the next bead, and on our left hand side we're going to add one big bead and one small bead, and cross both ends of our line into that small bead added. Cross both ends of your line into that last bead added, then draw that all the way down, and this right here is your third ring. So guys, we're going to keep up with this routine. We'll keep this going until we get all the way down. Let's meet at the second to the last part again so I can show you how to end a roll again. Let's go guys. We're here now at the second to the last one. Let's complete it together. The right line goes into the next bead, and on our left line we're going to be adding one big bead and one small bead. Then we're going to cross both ends of our line into that last small bead added. Draw that all the way down. Then we are on our last one. The right line goes into the next bead, and still on that right line we're going to be adding one small bead first and then one big bead, and then we're going to cross both ends of our line into that last big bead added. Cross both ends of your line into that last big bead added, and draw that all the way down, and finally we're done with this row. So yes, as simple as this is how the building of the roll would go. We have done 3 rows so far. We're going to keep up with this process until we reach our desired roll length. I'm going to keep up with this process until I get to 21 rows, okay? So let's meet at that 21 rows, guys. Let's meet there. I'm here now at my desired row length, and I have done 21 rows in total, and this is what my work is looking like. Now we're going to divide it into 3 parts, which is the front, the back, and the base, okay? From the first bead on the edge, we're going to count 9 beads inward, and once we're done counting it, we're going to roll, or we're going to bend it up to shape it nicely. Like shape it nicely, then you do a recount to make sure it is correct. Of course it is correct. Then you create the base. We're going to count 3, that is starting from that place we bent. We're going to count 3 inwards, and then we'll bend it to make our base. Press on it to make sure it shapes up nicely. Like those places, make sure you press on it so that it will shape up nicely. Alright, so that is it, and we have now defined all sides of our bag. We have the front part, the back side, and we have the base of our bag. So this is what your work should look like. It is now time for the next part of our work, which is the creating of the sides of our bag. First thing, we're going to cut out some line that will be comfortable for us to work with. And then we're going to start from the second row. We're not going to touch the first row, which the first row is going to serve as the frame of our bag. Then we're going to start from the second row. Then look closely at the bottom. We are going to pass our line through the first bead of the base and the last bead from the front side of our bag. Once that is done, we are going to add on the left side of our line one big bead and one small bead. We'll add one big bead and one small bead, and then we'll cross both ends of our line into the last small bead added. Draw that all the way down, and this is what you will have. To proceed, the right line goes into the next sugar bead on the base. String your line into that sugar bead, and then on our left hand side we're going to add one big bead and one small bead. We're going to add one big bead and one small bead. Then we'll cross both ends of our line into that small bead added. We are now at the final part of this first row. Watch closely, please. This is the third row of the third bead of the base. So we are going to pass our line through those beads right there, which is one from the base and one from the side. One from the base and one from the side. And this time around, we're just going to close with just one big bead. We'll cross both ends of our line into that one big bead. Draw that all the way down, and then your first roll of your side is now complete. So this is what you should have. To proceed, let's create the next row. This time around, the right hand side would go into the next bead on the side there. String your line into that next bead on the side there, and still on that line you'll be adding one big bead and one small bead, and then you cross both ends of your line into that last small bead added. Draw that all the way down, and please do not forget to tighten your work. Next, our right line will go into the next bead. String your line into that next bead there, and on our left line we'll be adding one big bead and one small bead. One big bead and one small bead, and you will draw down this big one and then pass both ends of your line into that last bead added there, and then you draw down. Always tighten your work. Tighten your work. Again, our right line goes into the next two beads, one from the base and the other from the side. Once that is done, after you're done passing your line through those two beads, then you're going to close with just one bead, one big bead. You're going to close with it, and then you pass both ends of your line into it and drag. this is what your work should be looking like. Okay, then to proceed, our line goes into the next bead on the side. The next bead on the side there, our line goes through it, pass to your line through that next bead there, and once that is done, you're going to be still on that same line. You're going to pass one big bead and one small bead, one big bead and one small bead. Then you're going to cross both ends of your line into that last small bead added. This is basically the same thing we're just going to be doing, but I just want to do it with you before we'll go off camera to complete it. Next, our right line goes into the next big bead there. Pass your line through that next big bead there. Once that is done, on our left hand side, we're going to be adding one big bead and one small bead. One big bead and one small bead. Then we'll cross both ends of our line into that last bead added, into that last sugar bead there added. Cross both ends of your line into it, and then you pull all the way down. Let's complete this third row. Our right line goes into the next two beads. That's one bayberry bead there and the sugar bead on the side of the bag. Pass your line through that bayberry bead and the sugar bead on the side of the bag. Once that is done, we're going to be closing with just one bayberry bead, one bayberry bead, and then our second roll of the side of our bag is complete. So yes, you're going to keep up with this process until you get all the way to the top. Finish this up on your own, and when you're done, pass around your line to end it. So I'll leave you to do that on your own while I do mine, okay? So let's go, guys. I am done with mine. I have joined both sides with the process, and this is what it looks like. This is what your work should look like as well. So the next thing we're going to do now is to add our handle. Already I've done this thing that I put on in the handle, this little stuff I put on the handle. I've done it off camera. Maybe in one of my videos I'm going to show how I did it. So the next thing is for us to fix our handles to our bag. So let's go, guys, let's fix it. So guys, this is me wanting to fix the handle of our bag. I'll count 4 inwards, and I'll just be working on those two lines, those two rows, and then I'll count 3 downwards, and then I'll work on those 2 rows. That's where our handle is going to be. I would not be really talking about how to fix this handle because this is white and it's kind of, you won't really see what I'm doing, but you know how the pattern goes now. You first of all but first I had to put one small bead, one big bead, and one small bead. Then we cross both ends of our line into that last bead added, draw that all the way down, and then the next, once you're going, whatever you're going to do next would be next, our right line goes into the next bead. Then on the left hand we'll add one bead, one big bead, one small bead, and then we'll cross with both ends of our line in that last bead. Just that is just going to be the pattern you would be following. One big bead, one small bead, then you cross both ends of your line into the small bead, and then once you are done with whatever you're doing, you would, once you're done, you would pass your lines into the beads, and then you cut your lines, you cut your line, and make sure your work is neat. So basically that is just it on fixing of the handle of the bag. It's not too much, it's not too hard, it's not too stressful. It's just the pattern of 2, and then your handle will be fixed. So I think, guys, there's nothing much on the handle. It's just very easy to make. So maybe in one of my next videos I'll make a video on how to fix a handle to a bag, or maybe I'll just make a video to explain more, so that, so guys, that is it. Please, before I forget, please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, share our videos so as to help us grow. It will really do help us, please. We would appreciate. Thank you so much, guys. And so now we are done with the fixing of our handles on both sides of our bag, and this is what it is looking like. This bag is fine. His bag is fine. And guys, do not forget to check your bag after walking. You check your bag for any loose thread. If there's any, you cut them out to make your bag look presentable, okay? So I am done with everything, and that concludes the making of our bag. This is what we have. Look at that now. Come on, this bag is screaming luxury. And hopefully this tutorial was helpful to you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time and all. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.